This is Hot Mic.
Hot Mic.
On the networks of WDAY.
WDAY.
Here's Dom Izzo.
I think just like Dom's outfit, they're not always pretty. Sometimes they're really ugly. But
Just been all over Amazon and just about every site looking for these mustard pants. And
My wife will tell you she
um,
must have burned mine.
People actually listen to your show.
They watch.
They
Yeah, I
watch
told
it.
you, yeah.
play defense in that first half like Dom transitions to you after the game. It's way too long, way too lazy, but
You got all these answers. I'm going to bring you over and have you do our non-conference schedule.
I'd love to. I'd love to go to Grand Canyon,
I would
man.
love.
Hey,
well,
you're
you
doing
can
that
come with.
game.
That's not the thing.
I love when you're on Dom. You're so transparent. And I'm like, so two things are happening. That one, people are watching your show,
Yes,
listening.
yes.
Right? That
Yep.
caught me a little off guard. I'm just being honest.
Okay, we got our technical stuff figured out here. Appreciate everybody being flexible with that, both in master control and our new tech control. So we're back here. Got Dave on the bus. So let's get the hard questions out of the way. So do you drive the bus? You're in front of the bus. Where are you at?
I'm a figurehead. We know this, right? Like I stay out of the way and let the professionals handle all the hard stuff. I am in the front though. I need to see where we're going.
Yeah,
right?
I figured that. Give us a lowdown here on a Wednesday. What's the routine like here on a game day? It's a bus trip. What's the schedule like here for today?
Yeah, just with the proximity of this trip and then the what we have coming up on the backside. So we're doing this one a little bit different. We were able to eat breakfast, do a little walkthrough this morning, hit the road about 9. We'll go straight in and do a shoot around this afternoon at noon here, right when we get into Brookings, and head back, got some day rooms and hang out there and settle into our routine and hopefully take care of business tonight at 7, and then we'll turn around and head right back tonight. So.
All right, well, let's get first the breakdown of the last two games. I know when we talked earlier this year, you were winning games. You weren't really thrilled with how you played. You won 2 overtime games. What was the synopsis? How did you feel about – I know you won. How did you feel about the 2 games you won?
I mean, it's all perspective, right, Dom? And I think the perspective is this time of year we're winning games, and that's vitally, vitally important, obviously. And to win games, to win close games, to show some resiliency, to find a way down the stretch, and 2 overtime victories. But I'm assuming you're insinuating some things that we can still be better, which is certainly valid. We can still be better, and that's it. Like this is a grind, and you can talk to the number 1 team in the country. You can talk to Kansas, who's just had a tough weekend. You can talk to anybody. Like this is just college basketball right now, and there's nicks, there's bumps, there's bruises, there's sicknesses, there's all these things, and so you kind of, as much as you can, you eliminate every single excuse, and you go out and for that 40 minutes or that 45 minutes, try to handle your business, and we were able to do those things. Do I still know? Is there a better version of us out there? Absolutely. And to be more specific, that better version of us is just the consistency. And I think that consistency piece is for 5 or 6 minutes in that first half against Denver on Saturday, we were brilliant, Dom.
Yeah.
We were absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Both ends of the floor, pace offensively, urgency defensively. And as a coach, you grab onto that. That becomes a standard and expectation. And every single thing you're trying to do, whether that's a game, shoot around, whatever it is, you're trying to grab that standard, meet that expectation all the time, and that's the next step for us here as we push through down the stretch.
Well, I wasn't insinuating anything, but I was going to ask, as a coach, when you have a team,
Yeah.
when you have a 19-0 run, what do you do as a coach when that's happening?
You sit back and smile,
yeah,
right? And I know it's crazy, and sometimes obviously Dave Richman gets a little animated on the sidelines, but that time on the court and under the lights with the fans there is the guys' time. The time for myself and our staff is behind the scenes in practice to prepare them to go out there and just, not think the game, but to react the game, to play the game. And when you finally see that come to fruition a little bit like that during that stretch, this is it, man. I mean, it's really, really exciting. And to be able to now bottle that up and move forward with that feeling, with that expectation, is certainly what we're striving for.
Dave, you need this time of year your horses to play their best. Jackson and Jakari go for 112 combined points in the 2 wins. I know you want to you probably want to space it out maybe a little bit more, but you got to rely on those two guys. Just describe what they did in the wins over Oral Roberts in Denver.
Well, yeah, sometimes tonight it might be spaced out a little bit more, but it might not, right?
Yeah.
And those horses might go for 30 and 30 again. And again, I just say that with this time of year, it takes what it takes, and they were absolutely both horses. You couldn't have said it better. And they were horses in the box score. I think they also were horses from a standpoint just in crucial times, along with the Javis Miller,
Yeah.
those two and Javis made some big time winning plays. And you can't underestimate just, delivering in those big times, big moments.
When when Jackson fouls out late in the game on Saturday, and you mentioned it to us last week about not having Javis out there for that Omaha game, that value to see him take over, especially score those late baskets. Describe that and what that means to your team of being able to rely on him in a crucial situation.
Well, yeah, that's just like the guts. Again, that's the guts that that he plays with. It's a swag, and it's just a gut feeling too with different time, score situations, matchups, and certainly, we have played through Jackson in a lot of those situations, but Jackson's out, and what are you going to do, right? You can't ask for a sixth foul. You can't make excuses, and Javis has been a guy that he doesn't shy away from those moments. He doesn't. In a lot of ways, and I mean this with all due respect, he doesn't care. It's not like this is some big, stressful moment, right? He's just going to go and play and compete. And I think afterwards, myself, probably Javis included, you realize the magnitude of those moments. But, he's got the ability to and this is where his maturity's come on the court, is to stay present. And in the past, I think mistakes and missed assignments and, poor execution has hurt his next ability to stay present. And, he's just done a tremendous job of impacting. That's not, in both games, in a lot of games this year, on both ends of the floor, that young man's made some big-time winning plays for us.
And how much does muscle memory help? I go back to 2 years ago, what he did in Sioux Falls for you. He's been in big moments that he can call upon that. Is that something that you see a direct line with that?
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
I think it's muscle memory, but I think also then that it's just entrenched in my brain and his brain that, okay, now we're in a moment again, a big-time moment where, who's going to be really present, who's delivered before, who's got the ability for us to deliver now in this moment. And, he's certainly very talented. He's got some unique ability based on his size and strength, whether he can drag a big guy out, on the perimeter and go by him. Or, in that case, this past weekend on Saturday, where he was able to put him in the block a little bit and go to work.
Yeah.
And, it just, again, when you have that talent, when you have that versatility, when you have that mindset, it's certainly a nice luxury for us.
I think if people will look at the Denver record and say, well, NDSU's supposed to win. Look what Denver's record is. You mentioned in the postgame, and Greg Steeman and I were talking about during the broadcast, that team is different than the team you played in January. Those three freshmen are dynamite.
Yeah, I don't know how much, people are listening to me, especially you, right? Because you guys are all just like, it's a bunch of BS coach speak. But, we also talk as other coaches in the league, right? And,
yeah.
and we got former Bison and friends on other staffs. And, you just look at what's happening. We're going to play South Dakota State and UND this weekend. And UND beat South Dakota State the last time out. UND doesn't play very well in the first half against Denver. And all of a sudden, it's a battle down the stretch with Denver. They turn around and beat ORU. ORU and Denver are vastly different teams. Denver really should have beat St. Thomas at Denver.
Yeah.
So, I just think it's mid-major Summit League basketball right now, where you're seeing the Aitken kid from Denver, a freshman. You could see when we played them the first time, this is a good player. Well, now he's got more mileage and experience. Now he's got healthier parts around him. Samuel Jury from Oral Roberts, that's a very, very talented young man. So I can't tell you right now. The seedings and all those things, like you gotta put them shoes on. You gotta lace them up tight every single night, because I truly believe, when it comes down to Sioux Falls, like more so than anybody, you're not like out there and saying, oh, man, they're just going to run away with this thing. There's just going to be some great barn burner matchups, so to speak.
You got one tonight. You know full well the environment you're going to get yourself into. You mentioned I saw what happened with Kansas and BYU last night. I mean, that this is what happens in college basketball. So what are you telling your guys, especially the ones that haven't been there before, about what they're getting themselves into tonight?
Yeah, we got to be able to learn from past experiences. I thought we walked into a buzzsaw at St. Thomas on a Sunday a few weeks ago. We didn't handle that very well, and it's my job, again, I talked about before the game starts, to prepare our guys. And, we've been in big moments. You go back to the Butler game. I mean, that was a loud, raucous environment in the second half. And that's what you're going to get. You're not going to have very many friends. That's okay, and that's all part of the tight circle, the Bison family that we talk about. But we've also got to make sure that we understand that, inside the lines, the game is still the exact same. And we have to be able to control that piece.
You've got, obviously, I don't know if there's a stopping of the big guy and what you did from the first time to what you do defensively this time around, but now you've seen him up close, you faced him and matching up with Oscar Clough. I guess the generic question is, how do you stop him? How do you match up with this guy?
Well, I think it's pretty fair to say you don't just stop him, right? And I think what we've got to make sure is we've got to limit his opportunities. We've got to make it a little bit more difficult than we did. And at the same time, that's a game where I felt we were right there. And we were right there, and then we limited ourselves with, I didn't think we were as sharp as we'd been offensively. And so you pick and choose your poison with South Dakota State. You've seen other teams double them and do some things like that, and they give up 100 points, And so certainly as a staff and as a staff collaboration with our guys, we prepared and talked about some different situations and scenarios, and we'll see. We'll see what happens throughout the course of these 40 minutes. But obviously, Oscar Clough is a very, very talented young man.
Their guard play, Dave, and I think you and I talked about this leading into the match, and heck, after the game in the post game, that you can't ignore what their young guys. I mean, Seiler's he's a redshirt freshman. They got other guys that's the dilemma. If you go double him, you got to worry about their guards going crazy.
Absolutely, and that's what I mean. It's a team. We've said this a lot with the success that Jackson and Jakari are having. Like, that just doesn't happen if you're not a sum of all your parts. And Oscar Clough can operate because there's great space on the floor. Those guards, in particular, those three guards with Gary, Larson, and obviously Seiler, like they can really play off of Clough a lot of the time, and Seiler can go a lot. And I'm just extremely impressed with the toughness, the moxie, and I mean this as a compliment, the flat line endurance mentality that Larson, Gary, Jackson played as well as anybody did on Sunday in Vermilion. And so, again, I give them a lot of credit. They're some of all their parts. Matt Moores, has done a great job. You can tell he's playing a little bit more athletic this year. He's moving a lot better. It's just a good team.
Before I let you go, and I appreciate you doing this on the bus trip, the level of annoyance of the old cowbells at the old Frost Arena, where did that rank for you?
High, right? High. But sometimes it's not more than the level of annoyance in some of the questions that you ask.
Oh, here we go. So, yeah, wow, wow.
You're preparing for all moments, Dom. So actually, I appreciate you for those questions.
Well, it's a new arena now, so it's a new look. I'm just trying to get you ready for. There's, the fans are still right on top of you, but not cowbell on top of you. So just to get you ready for that.
I think they were. Give South Dakota State credit. They mixed and matched. They upgraded some things, and I'm going to be, excited to see, it fully done. They've updated some things, but obviously there's a lot of history and tradition from the old Frost, and part of that was, where their fans sit and how they sit above you a little bit, and how that volume, permeates down onto you a little bit. And by all means, it doesn't look like they've changed that too, but that's okay. Again, like let's rock and roll. Maybe a little headache after the game. But that's all part of it.
How much do you appreciate those kind of environments, though? I mean, as a basketball coach, this is what you live for, right?
Yeah, 100%, Dom. I mean, and it's such a valid point by you. It's like I appreciate them a lot, and in some senses, you're trying to create that all the time, and St. Thomas's little barn or whatever they got there, like that made for a raucous college environment. That's and I watched zero NBA pretty much, but I saw Draymond Green comment a little bit. But I think part of that is there's not much interaction, and just that pure joy and pure sometimes hatred coming from the opponent's fans and all that stuff. And it's probably where I'm a little sick and cynical. I love these environments. I really do. Like, let's go. It's us against the world, and embrace the hard, all the things, and let's put our best foot forward and see where we are down the stretch and go make some winning plays.
Thanks as always for the time, bud. Safe travels and good luck tonight, all right? We'll talk to you later.
Appreciate you. Thanks, Tom.
Dave Richman joining us on the bus as the Bison are heading down to – there you go. I haven't done that in a while. As they're heading down to Brookings to match up with the Jackrabbits tonight. Now, a reminder, the Bison won down in Brookings last year, overtime game where Zeke Mayo went crazy at the end of that, and that the Bison still made a couple of winning plays at overtime and got out of there with a win. But just looking recently in this stretch, and Eric, you tell me if we need another break in here when we need to. Just let me know. Okay. We'll get that here in a second. South Dakota State comes into this. I mean, they've lost once over their last 10 games, and that was the game at UND. And again, that was the kind of the head scratcher that UND contained Clough. I think the 9 points in that one. And he was not contained against the Bison the first time around. We talked about it, about doubling. What do they do? I'm infinitely curious on how this defensively matches up tonight for that one. And we'll be having our eyes peeled on that. And full highlights, reaction coming up on the show tomorrow from the Bison and the Jacks. All right, we'll get our break in now. We'll come back. We'll wrap things up. We've got our Bison Media Zone show coming up. You'll hear from Tyler Roll coming up in about 10 minutes. Hot Mike rolls on. We're back on WDAY Extra right after this.